What's going on, everybody? My name is Clark Beckham. You're watching the Dean's edition of the Idol Breakdown, where I cross my legs and imagine a cup of a cappuccino. I don't know, something fancy. If you didn't know, I am the Dean of Music at Canada Christian College, where we study music in practical form. So instead of studying Bach and Beethoven, as much as I like Bach and Beethoven, we're studying Billy Joel and Stevie Wonder and things like that. So we're awesome. Come join. Okay, let's get into the show. First, we've got Matt and Leila Dasher. Let's start with Matt.
Wild birds, they wobble, yeah.
So they are from Black Mountain, North Carolina, which is a beautiful area. I've actually been there a bunch. I was a camp counselor at Camp Timberlake, which is in Black Mountain, and I wonder if they have any connections there. Go Iroquois. Matt is very likable. He comes in. His belts are a little bit out of control pitch-wise. They just float a little sharp. And personally, I was not as high on Matt as the judges were. I personally liked his sister a little better. Leila.
Make me a poster of an old rodeo.
Leila has this, it's really hard to articulate, but I try to articulate it all the time, and she's got it, like down pat. And it's this musical authenticity, not necessarily authenticity in she means what she's singing. It's almost like a melodic authenticity, like she means what she's singing. Does that make sense? Most of the time when people say they really mean what they're singing, they think about the lyrics and what the song content is and that they're going through that thing. I say that all the time. We need to believe that you're going through the thing that you're singing about when you're singing it. There's an element to that for literally just the melody and the way the notes come out are so real and authentic, and she's not singing out in front of herself. Everything's coming naturally and very, very strong. There were microseconds of uh-oh for me in her voice. The very top, I was like, uh-oh, maybe the sister's not as good as the brother, and this is going to be awkward. And then she started singing. I was like, whoa, this is wonderful. So there were little, tiny little moments of uh-oh for her vocally. I think those are easy to... maybe it's easier said than done, but I think it's easy done too. It's just some focus is all that's needed. Katie's Carnival, let me just say this really fast. A lot of gimmicks. Weren't super into all of them. Wasn't into this one. This seemed like a big undertaking. But let me say this. I guarantee you she knew about it and it wasn't a surprise. Here's how I know. Because I was on the show and they do these fun, extravagant things and they tell you about it. And then they tell you to act surprised. It drove me nuts because I was just like, just don't tell me about it. They just let it be a surprise. Because think about the giant shock it would be if they're like, hey, we're putting you in a blindfold. And then you walk up and it's open and it literally is Katie's Carnival. It's an entire carnival of like in your honor and themed after you. Notice that they didn't show any of her reaction to it. All they showed was her immediate reaction, which was like turning away from the camera. And it's exactly how I felt and a lot of contestants felt when those moments would happen because we don't know how to act surprised. We'd rather just be surprised. That's just something I had to get off my chest. Scarlet Lee. So some of my Groove Crew members on the live stream watch party mentioned to me, let me know a little bit of intel. She got second place on X Factor UK. So she's got a lot of experience in high pressure situations like this, in singing talent shows. And let's get to her song. Right at the top, I was like, oh, dang. She's special. This is gonna be one of those reaction videos that I lose my mind to. And then it kept going. And what I initially heard that made me excited, I actually thought there was just a tiny, tiny little bit too much. The sauce, just a tiny little bit too much sauce. And then she started to belt, and I was like, I think you're stretching a little bit. Doesn't feel like you're in control, and it's like really strong for you. And then she went into hyperspace and hit the super high note that was this gorgeous, perfect, resonating mixed belt voice. And then went higher than that, and then finished with this perfectly executed run straight down. It just hit me in the face. We had to wait like 90 seconds for it too. They let her sing for a while, but it paid off there. I enjoyed it. I don't think she's in the top 5 as far as vocal ability, but she's close. And she is someone, because of her credentials of getting second place on the X Factor UK, she's someone who could really show out in Hollywood Week, which would be fun to watch. I don't know if you guys have noticed. You probably haven't, because I haven't told anybody, and I have like 19 followers. The Idol Breakdown has a TikTok. So I've got a video editor. His name's Matthew, and he's wonderful. And he's actually taking bits of all of these Idol Breakdowns and making TikToks out of them, and they're really funny. We're trying to make them go viral, so go check those out. The Idol Breakdown. It's on TikTok. Let's talk about Donahue.
Today I'm gonna pop over to that bad boy right there.
Yes.
Well, I need you to need me.
So we have Donahue. I'm also gonna talk about the scary laugh guy. We've got some people that are a little gimmicky and funny and with great attitudes. They are the product, in my opinion, my speculation, they are the product of producers hearing people say, man, I miss those bad auditions. Remember back in the day when Idol just had hilariously awful auditions? Oh, I miss those days. So here's what people didn't miss. How do these terrible singers think they're good? This is how. Because by the time they make it to the judges, they've made it through 3 or 4 rounds of auditions where like 5,000 people auditioned and only 30 people make it. They're one of those 30 people. Whatever they've been doing, dancing, jiving, shebangs, they've been flying through these auditions and going through, so they think they're awesome. And then they think they're awesome, and then they're being laughed at. That's bad. So now they're trying to have their cake and eat it too. They're trying to get the bad and the funny, but the people are kind of in on it. You notice no one's like, what? Are you serious? Like, you don't like what I just did? Like back in the day. Now they're like, yeah, that's cool. You guys are awesome. And everyone just feels better. And they're like, oh, that's great. What a great little moment. How funny. Man, some singers are just crazy. Am I right? And then we move on. But it can get a little gimmicky. Let's talk about someone who's not gimmicky. Let's talk about Nick Connors.
Go easy. Oh.
Oof.
Hey, yeah. Whoa.
I can't hear you.
Feel the world around me.
Ooh,
I had no time to choose what I chose to do. So easy
Those hit
on
hard.
me.
Okay. Nick Connors, the song he's singing and the way he's singing it, especially in the beginning, going from chest to falsetto, and intervals of those notes are absolutely absurd. And they're right on. That is so hard to do. I cannot stress enough how difficult that is to do, what he's doing vocally. He has some runs that he nails. They're a little bit repetitive, but he's nailing them. I think if he did it one more time, I'd have been like, all right, that's a little too much. But he didn't do it that one more time. So I think it's fine. It was very close to too much of the same run over and over again. He did try an octave falsetto run, which didn't hit. And there wasn't, I didn't really break it down. But I don't think there was enough time for the notes to even land. So even if it was like one of those impossible runs that I just think it was a vocal arrangement mistake. One of my biggest pet peeves, great, phenomenal singers who have so much talent and so much ability that will still find a way to show us what they can't do instead of showing us all the wonderful things they can do. Now, I don't want the theme of my critique for Nick to be negative, because this was my favorite audition of the night, for sure, by far. And if you notice, it's actually the only one that I had a reaction to, because boy, he hit a run that sounded just like my dad that put me straight back in my seat. Overall, this was great. One more note about Nick. He has a falsetto mix thing that is like a little bit like Sam Smith, and it's great, but it can lead to some shrill notes. And I think that's when Katie or Luke said you're relying too much on your falsetto. I think it was Luke. He's referring to that. And when Katie said, let's hear more volume, it started to be more, it started to get more support, breath support. And that's really what it needed. Didn't need volume per se, it just needed more support. You've got to be careful about that, because that can get shrilly. And in those moments, it's either, holy cow, listen to how high he can sing, or this sounds shrill and screechy. And the line between the two is very thin. Jennifer Jeffries.
I've got a problem.
Jennifer, immediately when she started to sing, my ears perked up. I think all of ours did. She's got a very unique voice. She feels like a unique, special artist right then and there. I wasn't a big fan of it. I wasn't as high on her as the judges were. It sounded like her voice, her resonance was like in the front of the back of her throat. So not all the way in the back of her throat where it's like swallowed, but in the front of the back of her throat. And when you have such a stylized voice, people are going to die for it, or they're not going to be a big fan of it. And you cannot get around that. If you have a very generic voice, which has positives and negatives about that, it's going to be less polar. I don't know if that's the right word. But the nature of it for her is people are going to love it or they're not going to be into it. I personally wasn't super into her audition. Not as much as the judges. But a lot of Groove Crew members really liked it. So we'll see where she goes. Kimmy. Man, this story, dude. This is one of my favorite Idol stories I can remember. Just leaving his family, hadn't seen them in 6 years, taking care of his mom like he had, and then FaceTiming her and singing to her in Albanian. Okay, so he started to sing, and it felt like he was into it because he was in tears at the end. Unless we're not quite seeing the original, unless the edit doesn't really show us. Maybe he messed up and actually was in tears because he felt so terrible. That would actually, I'm just kind of thinking out loud here. That actually makes sense to me more because the judges kept saying he was in his head, and maybe he made a mistake that we didn't see in the beginning. They said sing another song. Katie insisted that should be louder, which every singer needs to be incredibly loud for Katie, apparently. But it ended up working in this case. The second song he sang was way better. It was Adele. Way better. And then he sang the Albanian song. Oh my gosh, to his mother. Good for Katie, dude. He's like, I think maybe Luke first was like, is she awake? If you call her, is she gonna wake? Is she awake? And then Katie was like, sing something Albanian, go. Sing something to her. Go, on the oval, go, back, go, sing. Usually I'm kind of like, hey, let's relax on berating the contestants. But this one, oh my gosh, did it pay off. I know this is American Idol and it's look for an American pop singer or country singer, but that Albanian style singing was sick. Kind of reminded me, it might be showing my ignorance here, but sounded like Middle Eastern, Indian style singing. And I could listen to that all day. So maybe if he doesn't go far on Idol, which I don't think he's going to make it super far personally, I think he's got a big old career in Albanian singing and that type of singing. That was gorgeous. These videos are doing better than they've ever done, which is very exciting. 5th season, 5th year doing this, and they've never been better as far as likes and comments and views. Views are great. Did you know that likes and comments are directly related to views and subscriptions? And the biggest actually of them all is notification bell. Notification bell is really for you, so you make sure you don't miss any extra videos I put up during the week. Liking and subscribing is telling YouTube, hey, this dude is worth a bump in the algorithm. More people need to see what this guy's doing. We've got a lot more views, like I said, than we've ever had at this part of the season. I know the fan base for American Idol is bigger. There are other, I know Talent Recap, they get like 400,000 views a week on their videos. I know we can get to that. So if you want to help, all you got to do is hit the like button and subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and then comment something. Honestly, whatever you want. But I do like getting in the comments if you want to talk to me about stuff. Aniston.
She's my hummingbird, flying 1,000,000 miles a minute.
I thought she made it to Hollywood on her chorus. I thought the chorus was super strong, songwriting-wise and vocally. Beautiful belt. There were a couple notes that just missed pitch-wise that I would love. I know if I had 10 minutes with her or less, I know she would have perfect pitch on all of the notes in the chorus. It's very easy. It's just you have to take the time to do it. You're singing in slow motion, really focusing on the intervals and not accepting anything other than like that perfect pitch. So that's such an easy, quick fix. She's got a lot of power and a lot of potential. Lionel said